Thankfully, I'm feeling calmer today than my last entry. It's definitely in a difficult mind space, and I feel like there's more space in regards to my thoughts, and perhaps some more presence and mindfulness. So I'm kind of grateful for that. And it's something just to be aware of in regards to my levels of stress and lack of sleep and other things, where there is that vulnerability of other symptoms flaring, like talking about OCD, addictive sort of behavior patterns, and I think with being like a mindful space, or being conscious, being present, it gives a bit of a buffer and a bit of a gap between doing activities and giving myself pause. And as an example, there was a sense of looking up this specific podcast episode that I knew, and then when I searched it, there was 4 or 5 previous episodes they had interacted with. So there was the host and the guest, and I learned that over the last 5 years they had conducted many episodes, and it wasn't that same sharpness of, oh, okay, I've got to watch all of these. There was the acknowledgement and the choice to think, okay, let's watch the latest one and see how it goes. If there's enjoyment in that and there's a desire to watch more, then okay. So yeah, I feel like being in a sort of present, connected to the present moment in regards to my practice, it's a great sort of aid, and I feel like there's an enjoyment or an acknowledgement in that sort of peace, and because the suffering was so great, perhaps that's giving me the awareness to sort of remain in this sort of what can be talked about as a natural state. It feels like I'm crossing the line here, where this is the kind of things I'll probably talk about in my podcast versus here, but it feels like perhaps those two things are coming together in regards to my own sort of spiritual practice, if I was to call it that, and the state of my mental health. So I think just to maybe not make this into a huge deal, but maybe some more attention and awareness in allowing my mind to rest, allowing there to be space and outside of thoughts where I'm not jumping from one thing to the other. So that's been a great help, and I'm going to continue with that today and starting with in this moment. And I wasn't able to get to sleep early last night. I was feeling a little bit run down, so I had a conscious coffee, sort of mid-afternoon, and I was fully aware that it may impact sleep, but I was feeling so run down that I felt like I needed something to get through the rest of the day, and I thought that would be better than to try and sleep, which would affect my sort of night sleep even more. But when I woke up this morning, I kind of went back to bed for a bit and managed to get a bit more sleep. So I kind of got up late, and understanding that sacrifice or that compromise of, okay, if I get some sleep, it's going to be a bit more harder to get going in the day. So I kind of woke up late morning, and I just had a cup of coffee, and I've just had some toast, and actually had that a little bit of time ago, but it's already like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or gone 2 o'clock, I think. And thankfully I'm not in a with this kind of peaceful wave that's with me at the moment, just kind of accepting things as they are. So there's no negative thoughts about the morning or being wasted, or so I thought it'd be nice to do some recording, especially after my last log, which was a difficult one to do, and so I thought it'd be good to acknowledge that that's I'm in a bit of a calmer space, and I managed to do my foot rehab exercises this morning. It's something I've struggled with since I got the exercises, and I think my foot's been more and more painful over the last few days, or last couple of weeks actually. So it's given me that the motivation I need to do it. I feel like if it wasn't as painful, I probably wouldn't have been able to push myself to do it, but because the pain is gnawing at me, the continuous sort of days of pain. And I think I've got an appointment with a podiatrist, and it's going to be sometime in the future, I think. So they're quite busy, so at least hopefully if I'm able to do this a bit more consistently, and it will hopefully give me the information I need going into that podiatrist appointment. So my foot does feel a little bit better from doing these exercises, so hopefully I can continue those. And for the moment I may do them daily to build up a little bit of strength, and then see about sort of spacing them out a bit. And I'm going to go for a walk in the park after recording this, so I can upload this and also exercise my foot as well. I think the health practitioner I saw, don't know their official name in regards to something like musculoskeletal something, but they mention that joints, like to move, and the more exercise I get with my foot, the better. So I thought, I'm not looking to go out and do too much today, so The last couple of days I've done a fair amount of walking, so it'd be good today to get a bit of exercise in, just to exercise the foot. So I'm going to do a few laps around the park, and the sun is out as well, so it'd be nice to absorb a bit of sunlight and fresh air. So there's some intentions I'd like to sort of slowly include. I say intentions because the last, several days and before that with the binge eating, the last couple of weeks have been very rocky. So trying not to put pressure on myself to suddenly thrust myself into lots of activity and things that may have an adverse effect if that collapses. But I would like to listen to a bit more audio books. I've got one I'm listening to about mental health, and I've got a novel in there as well, what I've downloaded from the app. I think it's from the library, so it's an expiration date of I've only got a certain time to listen to it. So I thought it would be a good exercise to kind of to listen to that, and an activity of like half an hour or an hour or so, to some extended time, so I get kind of immersed in something, and I think it will keep me calm as well, to have that focus. And so I may somehow try and organise a time potentially of when I can do that activity. I may do that as I walk around the park and upload this. That's probably a good time to do it. Listen to the audiobook as I walk around. And yes, I'm getting some exercise. That's positive. The audiobook could be some mental stimulation and some focus and maybe some calmness in there as well, doing that activity. I did manage to cook a healthy meal yesterday, so that's a positive. So there's a few days of healthy meals potentially. I'm off schedule of my eating at the moment, so I often, as I mentioned before, been intermittent fasting, but when I bought some groceries, I think it was yesterday, I had more bread than I realised left over, so I thought I would try and not waste that. So I had some peanut butter on toast with my coffee, and I'm going to try and make like a salad sandwich a bit later, but I don't want to also overeat and just kind of cram in meals just for the sake of not wasting bread. So there's that. I want to be aware of that as well. So maybe we'll see how the rest of the afternoon goes. So the evening times continue to be challenging. I think that's a time where there's lots of mind activity and lots of restlessness, or lots of perhaps pain that comes up from there as well. One thing I wanted to actually, so the main reason I wanted to record, is talk about sort of Gabor Mate, a doctor who has books published and lectures on YouTube, and someone who I've known about for a while and watched his lectures, and I've bought a couple of his books, though I haven't managed to read them, but in the library app there's one of his books on there, the Hungry Ghosts book, which talks about addiction, that I've kind of reserved, so I can hopefully listen to that as I'm struggling with the reading. So I was watching some of those lectures of his talking about addiction, and that was really good for me to watch, especially after what I've kind of been through the last couple of days. So that really helped understand, sort of refocus the root of what I was doing, and I think one of the antidotes to that was to be in touch with the body and in touch with emotions, and that can kind of lead back to being mindful or to be present, which sort of encompasses that, you know. So so those were kind of some positive things I managed to do, and I was grateful to listen to him and to get that information and stuff I kind of already sort of heard and knew, but just to bring that up to the surface again and really utilize it, put it into practice. So I think together with Gabor's lectures and his advice and information and my own sort of practice of presence and listening to some Eckhart Tolle stuff as well, which has helped a lot. So together with that, and that helped a lot to bring me into the sort of calmer space. So it was one of the things I wanted to record and share. That it's a positive thing to acknowledge, and wanted to do that. So I find sometimes after going through a very difficult or rocky stage, there's the almost euphoria or relief of getting past that, and it can be a bit trapping as well, because you feel like you can almost get too high on that. Sometimes I can feel, and then you lose control again, and the cycle kind of begins. And so I'm trying not to. I'm enjoying the relief and the calmness that's there, but I can also sense the mental health and everything else, addictive OCD stuff. It's there under the surface. That it may take one small thing to kind of lose, or the mindfulness, the awareness of my emotions in my body and my state of mind, to lose that from it. Then that will all come up, and to get tangled up in that again. So there's the awareness of, even though there's sort of calmness and there's peace here, there's no sort of complete letting go and being euphoric in that sense. There's a real knowing that all of that chaos and the difficulties is very close by. Still, it's there. So not to get sort of carried away with the place I'm in at the moment, to, of course, try and appreciate it, but have some perspective on it as well. So some I would say loose intentions, because I feel like things are quite still vulnerable and fragile. So I do think it's a good place to start putting any sort of strain or pressure. But maybe just some awareness that if there is, to acknowledge some free time and listen to some audiobooks would be good. And perhaps it's also okay that with the place I'm in at the moment, there's no expectations that, even though I mentioned at the start, to the intention to remain here and to, but it's also acknowledging that things may completely knock me off kilter, and then I'll be in a difficult place. But just to acknowledge the tool of this, so it's not, in a sense, something I have to kind of hold tight to, and hopefully I don't let go, but more of a sense that it's kind of a sanctuary that's always there, and to remember that tool, and to acknowledge this place as well. I thought it's so it's not like a pressurized way where I'm achieving something by staying in this sort of calm place. It's again, this does feel like some of the things I talk about in the podcast is things like this, but so in this moment, it's grateful. I've got some relief, and I'm just going to carry this with me, or allow this to be with me as I go through my day, and acknowledge it as well. It's almost like an anchor in a ship, if there's rough seas and everything else, but it's a better metaphor to use. I've got like a bit of an anchor where I am able to rest and be still and calm, and even though things are going on at the moment, still close to the surface where I can feel it. So just to be appreciative and grateful for for being able to be mindful and present, and being aware that that's available to me as well. So I think it's good to get going and slow walk around the park, exercise my foot, and listen to an audiobook. And then see where the rest of the afternoon takes me.